clear international agreement about extracting resources and setting stuff up. The reason why we have not signed on to it, in part, according to critics at least, is that the Moon Treaty uses language that says not only can countries not lay claim to stuff on the moon, but technology that you use to get stuff out of the moon should be for everybody too. Did y'all catch that? So the Moon Treaty uses language that says not only nobody can lay a sovereign claim, but all the tech that you took to get there, that should be everybody's. Let's go communist. Redistributing the wealth. Outrageous. My sarcastic voice, did you hear it? All right then, Moon Treaty AF. Any questions about the Moon Treaty? Okay. Moon Treaty AF ideas. Ratify the Moon Treaty. This would facilitate U.S. exploration and development by creating a stable legal framework for U.S. companies that get stuff out of the moon. And probably something I should have said like an hour ago is that stable legal frameworks help business environments. Why would they help business environments? Why would a stable legal framework help businesses? What are they more likely to want to do? Amir?
Prevent them from fearing legal repercussions.
Yeah, okay, I mean, so maybe it reins in businesses, but if I'm a business and I am contemplating going to the moon, and what was I building? A house there? So I'm building a resort, a bed and breakfast on the moon. So I want to build that on the moon. If I don't know, well, I'll just tell you, if I don't know that I've got some legal protections, I'm probably not going to risk the investment. Right? Just like you wouldn't go to the top of a mountain and start mining that mountain if you didn't know that you were going to have some legal protections. Okay, you could also, I think, as an app, propose modifications that would close the loophole for privates by preventing claims on extraction as well. This requires a little bit of explanation. Remember how I said that the Moon Treaty closes the loophole and says that you can't have sovereignty over resources? Do y'all remember that? Remember how that happened? Okay. The second app idea is you can lay claim to stuff you've extracted. So if I'm a mining company, I can't go plant my flag on the moon and claim that that is mine. But if I go there and I start digging in the moon and get stuff out of it, I can lay claim on that. So if I go to the moon and I discover some new element, when it's in the moon, I can't claim sovereignty over it. If I get it out of the moon, I can claim sovereignty over it. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. The reason why this is a little bit of a problem is it discourages some of the investment in moon mining. Amir?
So let's say there was only one company who was actually mining on the moon. They found this huge source of something. Could they, in theory, pull it out before anybody else knows it and say, this is ours?
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Some Moon Treaty negative arguments or places I think you could,
On the Moon Treaty, wouldn't they increase multilateralism in countries because by ratifying the treaty?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we would look super sweet if we ratified the Moon Treaty and said, Russia, China, come along. It'll be awesome. We'll put some unicorns on the moon and it'll be great. Yeah. So on the negative, I think you could make arguments like a lack of ratification prevents full development. Like if you're mining the moon, you're not really going to mine it all the way because of the lack of a legal framework. That was the discussion we were just having. If somebody does ratify, remember I said that the language of the Moon Treaty says that the technology that you use to go to the moon and do stuff on the moon, that should be available to everybody. Do you remember that? Okay. So I think a negative argument, and this could be an advantage, but a negative argument could be that doing that gets rid of IPR protections, and IPR stands for intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights. So my super awesome idea to put the orbiting Starbucks in space. Do y'all remember that super awesome idea? Okay. That is my idea. Intellectual property rights would say it's my idea, it gets protected. And the Moon Treaty basically says that everything I would use to get there would not be protected. It wouldn't be mine, it would be everybody's. And so you could claim on the negative that IPR is good and that it needs to be protected and that the Moon Treaty undercuts it if somebody ratified it. I think you could also say that more exploration of the moon is a cap link or an Earth first or consumption K. There are a bunch of people who say we should ratify the Moon Treaty so that people can get the limitless resources in space. I was reading some article by some crazy libertarian from the Cato Institute, and he was like, we should not worry about whether developing countries can get to space or not, because it's infinite resources. They'll get there eventually, was basically his argument. And so I think that the Moon Treaty could like reinforce that, or you could use these kinds of arguments to help with that. All right. I learned some other interesting things, but CT has even more interesting things to say to you. So you should jot down Space Station Agreement and the Latin phrase petius possessio. This is a mining principle that says that if you discover something, gold rush. Y'all study the gold rush? Okay. Let's transport. So we're in the gold rush. We go to California via the Oregon Trail, or the California Trail. And we think that we have discovered a plot of land that has gold. We will go every day and we will use our shaker and we will try to find the gold. As long as we are trying to find stuff, that plot of land is ours. But if somebody else comes onto the land and also starts panning for gold, and they don't know that you've already laid claim, they can also lay claim to that land. And if they get to the gold first, it's theirs. If we go to the moon, there are 2 companies that go to the moon and they start mining on the moon. This principle currently is all we have to guide us on these mining issues. So I think there's like a whole subset of apps on like mining that would clarify these kinds of rules to encourage companies to actually invest in looking for stuff on the moon or on asteroids, because they would be protected that if they got there first, then they would get the stuff, not somebody who happens to discover it first. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, if it doesn't, you're lost. No, you should email me. Here's my email. Oh, I had more clips. Here's my email if you would like for me to email you clips. It's T McFarland, McFarland, LAND 929. Oh, that's my birthday. You can also tell me happy birthday. at gmail.com.
You spell your last name again?
McFarland 929. Okie dokie. You can have a 3-minute break to stand up and stretch your legs and stuff. And if you're like actually going to soil yourself, then obviously you should be about to.
$50 million times I got a